You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This is episode 144 of the Wisdom by Wessa show on the Horse Radio Network. This is Mike Donnell.
I'm Casey Wilbanks.
And this is Sofia Yagela. Welcome to Wisdom by Wessa on the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
This podcast is brought to you by the Western and English Sales Association, WESA, which provides the world's largest trade events for retailers, manufacturers, and sales representatives of the equestrian industry. In this podcast, we feature exclusive interviews with noteworthy Western and English personalities, retailers, and exhibitors who you've always wanted to talk to. Don't miss out on all the news for manufacturers and retailers in the equine industry. We are back from the January WESA trade show. Sophia is here. Can you share just an overall view of the show?
Yes, it was a record-breaking show. Exhibitors reported having more appointments, writing more orders, and even breaking records on the very first day of the show, which I think says a lot about the state of the industry.
And speaking of those stats, can you share some of the highlights?
So the exhibitor participation grew once again. So we keep on growing and now had 544 exhibitors, of which 67 were new to the WESA trade show. And attendees got to explore almost 300,000 square feet of exhibit space, which made it a very big show.
Can you give us any interesting facts about the retail store attendance?
Yes, so we were happy about our great reach with a strong U.S. presence from almost all of the U.S. states. And we also welcomed international visitors from diverse regions. We had a strong presence from North America, Europe, and Latin America. Canada actually surpassed Mexico with over 50 stores in attendance. And we badged a large number of Australian stores. And that, of course, opens new doors to market opportunities. So overall, it was an amazing show, and we're of course very thankful for each and every one of the attendees, the exhibitors, and our partners, and we can't wait to see you again in August.
Our Hat Company's founder, Brandi Voth, began mentoring survivors of human trafficking in 2017. She pretty quickly realized the need for businesses to create opportunities for these survivors so they could gain marketable skills, get references, and provide on-the-job training. She founded the company in 2020 to provide transitional employment to survivors. Since then, she has partnered with other businesses to create economic empowerment for the exploited, for the trafficked, and at-risk individuals worldwide. There's a lot to this story, and Brandi joins us today to tell us more. Brandi Voth, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on the Wisdom by Wessa show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate the time that we can come and chat.
Well, and we've got a lot to chat about. I mean, you and your company are a unique story. I think it blends a lot of things that the Western world is known for. There's compassion, there's creativity, and those kinds of things you've brought together, as well as business sense. I think this is the perfect example of what our industry can do when its participants adopt a problem, find a solution, and then grow it. So what I want you to do is, just for our listeners, give us the backstory on you and the concept and the company, and then we'll get into more details.
Sure. Well, I'm Brandi. I'm the founder of the Power Hat Company, and we launched in 2020 with the sole purpose of creating transitional employment for survivors of trafficking. So I've mentored survivors since 2017, and they needed jobs, and I like hats. So the Power Hat Company was born.
Now, how did you get involved in working with these young women to begin with?
Well, I learned about human trafficking when I was on a business trip in Australia. I saw a billboard that said, immigrants are targeted for trafficking. And then I saw a sign about missing children and trafficking. And it was something that grabbed a hold of my heart and just would not let go. And I knew nothing about any of the subject. Like most Americans, looking through the lens of privilege, I thought this was something that occurred in other countries, in other areas. And so the more I learned about it and the more I started studying and reading and joining cooperatives or coalitions, I realized that this was something that's happening everywhere and in our own backyards. And so I just knew I had to be involved, and it was something I couldn't turn a blind eye to. So I began volunteering at an aftercare home for traffic survivors and doing a business coaching course, helping create a vocational plan. And we just kept facing the same challenges each time, where after graduation from a program, these individuals had a very difficult time getting gainful employment or sustainable employment that would help them even begin to get out of the level of poverty. And so this just tended to lead itself to recidivism and slipping back into a lifestyle. So that's where the Power Hat Co itself became a solution to try to stand in the gap.
Somewhere along the line, though, you probably or obviously had some kind of an affinity for hats, as opposed to all the other products and fashion products and things that there are. It must have been an affinity for hats that led you to believe that you could leverage that into a business that would accomplish those objectives you want.
Yes, I've been a hat girl my whole life. I've grown up in Texas, so I've met very few hats that I don't like or love. And so I had an idea for a while that I thought I wanted to create a hat line. And my husband and I are both serial entrepreneurs, and we have a line in our family where we say no new businesses. So I was in a place where the hat company had been bubbling in my mind. And when I was looking for a solution for this problem in front of me, I had a 19-year-old girl sit across the table from me that said, "Look, I'm in a program. Are you going to hire me?" And that day's the day I came home and told my husband that the idea I had about a hat line or a hat company eventually was getting moved to the front of the line, and we were going to create jobs for people in need with hats because they needed jobs and I love hats.
So how does it work?
Well, I design the hats, and we have a factory that we make the hats in, and then we are able to provide gap income and transitional employment to individuals that have experienced exploitation and trafficking by creating jobs that the individuals that I've mentored personally hand stamp and make all of our leather hat bands for our hats. It's something that doesn't require a lifetime of hat making knowledge to be able to provide that job, and they can do it wherever they're at. I can send a kit with some leather in it and some tools, and they can make hat bands for me on demand. And then we also work with a weaving cooperative in Guatemala of indigenous Mayan women that they make all of the bandanas for our hats, and it provides them social programs and income, and it helps prevent them from going into a life of exploitation.
Wonderful. Frankly, I think if the hats were not quality and attractive, the revenue stream would not be sufficient enough to accomplish what you want to accomplish. So, I looked at the website. I'm sure that Casey has been on it because these are pretty cool products.
They're always trying to make me shop on here. I swear, he throws it to me every time we go talking about the retail part of this and the design aspect. And I'm sure she's on there. Yes, sir, I am on here. So, yeah, let's talk about some of the inspiration you get for your designs. I mean, I think, I don't know how to put this. Hats have always been a staple, obviously, in the Western way of life. But now it's really widespread. And I've never seen hats being worn more than I have now. Some of my friends I've been friends with for years that are not even in the Western industry are buying cowboy hats. And I have to kind of just chuckle because never in the past would I ever see them in that. And so it's really neat where it's going. And there's so many options. So I do want to get your view of where your inspiration comes from.
Well, I think that to speak to that note, it's wild because the Western culture has infiltrated the entire fashion industry at a global level. And you can hear both sides of an argument that people within the industry have for this, that this is the way we've always done it. Why are they wearing hats now? I personally think it's absolutely incredible. When I launched with a flat brim pinch crown because I didn't want to be pigeonholed a cowboy hat company or a Western hat company, because I have a demographic of followers that is very diverse. And I just wanted everyone to see themselves in one style of hat that I feel like is universal and crosses into a lifestyle brand versus just a Western brand or cowboy hat brand. Like I said, I'm in Texas, and my husband, my sons, myself, we all wear cowboy hats. And so for about 2 years, I heard from my family and my grandpa why in the world I had not launched a cowboy hat yet. And I kept pushing it off, saying, we're not just specifically Western, we're lifestyle. And I couldn't fight it anymore because, like I said, the entire world is wearing cowboy hats. So we did branch into the Western cowboy hat style this last year. It's been awesome, and it's really fun. My husband says he gets to wear my hat in our family picture now instead of some of the other brands that we're big fans of. But my inspiration just comes from, I want a hat that is going to sit on someone's head and make them feel more confident than they've ever felt with any other accessory they've put on their body. You have people come in that have never worn hats before, and they'll try hats on and they'll tell you, I'm just not a hat person. And my response to that is always, look, wearing a hat is no different than wearing a red lip. It just takes you saying, I'm going to confidently put this on and I'm going to rock the heck out of it.
That's so funny because I cannot pull off the red lip, and I know Mike can't either. But
I don't even know what we're talking about. So.
Well, that's a good thing. I can relate to you on one thing. We always need to listen to Grandpa. I learned that lesson a long time ago as well.
Right.
But again, as I'm sitting here looking at your hats on the website, let's talk about the hat bands. And so the one I'm looking at says persistent, but there's multiple different sayings. And just talk a little bit about those sayings.
Sure. So when we initially launched, and I knew that I wanted to have these individuals stamping the bands and making the bands for our hats, I knew that I wanted power words attached to these bands, just that really speak to your true identity and your identity in your creator versus what the lies of the enemy tell you on a daily basis. And I thought, man, how cool would it be if we had these individuals whose power has been taken from them in the past by others, and they're the ones that are stamping these power words on your bands. And so they're words like you said, so persistent. Cool. We have loved, brave, strong, free, worthy, enough. And it's really fun. We have our tagline that's for freedom, which is our branded band that goes on the hats. And then you can also add on the personalized power word. Just seeing women and just be able to choose a word that resonates with them, that says, you know what, I am enough. I am worthy. I am loved. It's one of my favorite parts of the whole process.
And I mean, a perfect name, the Power Hat Company. So powerful, the message, and not just for trafficking, but I think this can be relatable in so many different parts of life. I mean, one that comes to mind for me immediately is bad relationships, leaving toxic relationships, regaining that power and that within strength. And so I think the message here is even much bigger than we can even give credit for.
It really is. And you'll see people from all walks of life that resonate with the brand. And like I said, I mentor survivors of trafficking. I also coach women in business and men in business. And we all struggle. The shared thread of humanity is that we all struggle with self-doubt. We all struggle with valuing ourselves. We all let things and outside voices get into our minds. And so you'll see a commonality of this brand resonating with people from all different walks of life, because what we all truly want is to be known, seen, and loved.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And you speak so eloquently about it. You're the perfect representation for this. I can see why this has came together so wonderfully for you. Sophia, that is on the show along with us, was talking about your booth right before you got on and was just saying the eye-catching marketing and really had people turning their heads. And so you have some humor with it too, which is always nice to keep some, I don't know, laughter's the best laughter's a good medicine.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, it's when we decided that we were going to move into the wholesale brand and the wholesale market and we were going to be at WESA, we've done retail shows. We've been at the NFR in Vegas several years. And we thought, there's so many different hat companies and so many fantastic hat companies. But what's the one thing that sets us apart? We know that we make quality hats. We know that our hats are beautiful and we want you to buy our hats because they're a quality made, beautiful product. But we want you to stick with our hats because of the mission. And so, how do we be a mission forward company in a sea that's really, not we're a small fish in a great big sea, right? And so we decided we would go in and just go really heavy with our tagline, buy hats, not girls. And we have a red light selfie booth, which is a play on the red light district in Amsterdam and some other cities with, women for sale in the windows.
Yeah.
And so we thought, we're just going to put that red light selfie booth out front and tell people to take pictures in our buy hats, not girls booth.
Right.
And we're going to put our buy hats, not girls tagline across the entire booth, everywhere we can splash it. And we're going to see how that works with the traffic flow. And it has been a game changer in people stopping because I don't have to ask them to stop and listen to our mission. They stop and they want to know what the heck my tagline
what
means.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been really great for conversations. And I have to say, like I said, I've done a lot of markets. This January, WESA was my first intro into WESA. And the market there was the most engaged and the most bought into our mission that we've ever found anywhere.
That's great. I'm kind of in tears here because we talk to such amazing, every one of our guests is amazing in their own way, their journey, their products. Everybody has a unique story. And this show is very gratifying to co-host it, to be honest. But this is the most touching story. Your mission is just the ability to put this thought together and run with it. I think, I don't know how to say this, but I think somewhere in our world we've somewhat lost that connection with people, and I think everybody's kind of starving for this real down to earth, real stuff, real life connection.
Well, listen, I'm a professional and I do this podcast thing, and you don't get to make me cry on podcast, okay? But I thank you so much for those kind words because I work with entrepreneurs and I coach and teach people to use their business as their ministry platform. Use their business to serve individuals. Take that thing that drives you, that way you want to make money, that crazy idea that you have, and let that be the change that you want to see in the world. And so the fact that you connect with that and is so affirming to me right now, because I promise you, out of any business that my husband or myself have ever started, out of any venture we've ever taken on, this one has come with the most unique challenges of anything we've ever attempted. And it's just one of those things that I can't let go of. And I know in my heart it is so needed in this world. And so I appreciate your words of affirmation so much here.
Absolutely. Very divine, and it's a powerful movement. And Mike, I know you don't wear red lipstick, but I can tell. I can just tell when he's needing to say something, though.
Well, I want to circle back around. I mean, you went to WESA to meet with a bunch of people, the retailers, people who can move product. Let's talk a little bit about, if I'm a retailer and I'm listening to the show, I'm assuming you would like me to be a candidate to carry the product. Our goal here is to get lots of people to sell lots of hats. And you started that in our industry, and you started that at WESA. But what is the preferred way, and what type of retailers are you looking for? What kind of retailers have you found that work well with the concept? Let's talk about that whole aspect of your business for a minute.
Absolutely. For starters, we switched from retail to wholesale just this year. This is our new wholesale launch. I held this company very close to my heart leading up until this, and have a little bit of some control issues. So moving into it, I was very particular about the type of retailer I wanted to work with. I wanted to make sure that it was a retailer that cared about where the products were made and who was making the products, and cared about what the individuals are being paid that are making these products. Are they receiving a fair living wage? Is there ethical treatment in the factory? Are we making sure there's no forced labor or child labor? That those are things that are super important to my heart. So a retailer that picks up the line, I want to make sure that we're having those conversations about the products that you're carrying in your stores. And then, because I don't want to just say I'm taking a stand against sex trafficking, but yet there's labor trafficking happening all around us that we're turning a blind eye to. So that's a number one at the forefront of my cause and my mission. Secondly is, look, we want to be in national retailers across the US. That's our goal right now. We want to be a brand that is not just known within our very bought in following that we have, but we want to be a household name. We want people to hear the Power Hat Company and know exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it. And the Western market is such a purpose-driven market that I'm finding a really good reception there. And so I'm open. You call me, you talk to me, you email me. I'm the face of the company, but I'm also the girl that's building relationships with my retailers. And we've seen an interesting niche. We have a large amount of international retailers that are wanting to carry our hats. Just at Wessa alone, we had retailers from Scotland, Canada, Argentina, France, and Australia come through the booth wanting to carry. Listen, I have people in Dubai wanting to carry felt cowboy hats. I can't make it make sense in 120-degree heat, but we're having a great response internationally and locally. So I'm the heart of the company. I'm the founder of the company, and I'm here to have a conversation. If you think that this brand might possibly fit with your company, it might be a good addition, then shoot me an email, and I am more than happy to discuss whether this is a good fit or not for your business.
Okay. I hope all the retailers who are listening understand that, and others that they talk to, there's going to be not just, can I move product? Do I have a store? Do I have 5 stores? Do I have a hat department? There's got to be an emotional and an ethical click.
Right. Yeah.
Business with you.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of hats on a shelf. I'm going to need you to be able to transfer the knowledge of why this hat is different and what we're doing with this hat. And I provide.
That actually raises the question, though. I'm a retailer, and emotionally, ethically, we are in sync. But what also do you have available in terms of marketing initiatives that are going to help me move that to my customers and explain and interpret what that hat means to the customer who walks in off the street?
Right. We have a few different options for that. So we're going to start with, I'm going to provide you with digital files for marketing that you can plaster anywhere you want that share our stories. I'm going to provide you with files that have our video telling our story that you can share with your team for training. I'm going to provide you with POP materials at your display that convey our story accurately and really set us apart. And then there's some other tiered products that we can throw into that depending on what type of volumes you're purchasing at. We have some mirrors that convey our story. And then I go at a certain level, I'll come into the stores, I'll train your staff, I'll do a pop-up event with your customers, and I'll share our mission with the people. And I go anywhere. I'm not tied to one location for that. So we are really committed to making sure that you have success with our brand as a retailer. We're not just going to throw it on your shelves and then hope it sells. The heart of this is me making sure that you're successful, I'm successful, and we're sharing this mission together.
Well, I think I'm glad we got into that, because, that certainly puts your product in a different perspective when I as a retailer am looking for something fresh, looking for something different, but has a message that it needs to be told and most retailers aren't going to be able to tell it on their own, but you're going to hand carry and hand deliver to me the marketing tools I need to position the value proposition of that product, not only economically and wearability, but the good that it does for the people that you've been working with. So, I mean, you've got the full package.
Well, thanks. Listen, we've spent a few years trying to figure this whole thing out over here, and like I said, we're just committed to the success of it. So we're going to be there every step of the way.
Do you host a podcast? Is that right? I
do.
So okay.
I have the Power Project podcast. We recorded religiously up until the launch of the hat company, which took over my life for the last 4 years. And this year we are relaunching, and that will be up and running, and we'll be spotlighting other freedom businesses and social enterprises that are creating good with doing business.
Awesome. Well, for anybody listening, definitely check that out. Your website, the-powerproject.com, and there's a podcast link. And you have red lip on in your picture.
I do. Listen, it's the only color you're ever going to see me in. I'm a black, white, gray girl, but let's do a pop of red.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thank you guys. It's been awesome. And I so appreciate the opportunity here. Thank you for sharing your platform with me.
Hey, thanks for taking the time.
Sure, Mike. Have a great day.
The show notes and the links from today's show can be found at wisdombywesa.com. And as always, we'd love your feedback. There is a contact link on that website.
The Wisdom by Wesa show will be published on the 15th and 30th of every month. You can listen on most of your favorite podcast players, and you can also listen on wisdombywesa.com. Be sure to visit all the great shows on the Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com. Wesa, where the industry meets.